Well, it's been a while since I did a Q&A video on this channel, and I've had a ton of fans reach out with some great questions, so I figured what better time than now to go through some. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and comment below with more questions. Okay, so first question is, Dustin, did you sell the LS and what are you replacing it with? Well, I knew this was gonna come up. I did sell the LS, well, sort of. I'm selling it at the dealership now. So it is available at Performance Lexus. You'll see it on the website. And I did replace it, but there's more on that soon. If you wanna check that out, go to my other channel called A Dusty Life, where I go through a little bit of my shopping experience and talk about some car choices. Question number 2, Dustin, did the RCF Track Edition sell? Well, it's not a Track Edition, but our RCF Final Edition is still in stock and is available for sale. And let me tell you right now, it is an absolute steal for the price. I think this is a very special car that deserves a very special home. So if you are a car enthusiast and you live in and around the Ontario region, come check it out because it is pretty epic. Dustin, is Lexus going to follow Toyota and make a smaller GX like they did with the Land Cruiser? That's a great question. I just saw this on the news the other day that Toyota did come out with kind of more like an FJ Cruiser version of the Land Cruiser. I did read that it's not coming to the North American market. However, it would be really cool if it did. I've always been a big fan of cars like the Suzuki Jimny down in the southern parts of the world. And I think that if Lexus did a small GX, that'd be super cool. I don't think it's gonna happen just based on what I've been seeing in the market, but there is some really cool things happening to our lineup. So more on that soon. Dustin, what did you think of the Toyota Century announcement? Okay, this is exciting. So if you didn't see in the news, Toyota has announced that the brand Toyota Century is now above Lexus in terms of luxury. And if you don't know much about Toyota Century, it is a super rare and exclusive sub-brand of Toyota. This was reserved for like dignitaries and politicians and CEOs in Japan in particular, and it was on a based just one car. It was a sedan that had a V12 made by Toyota. And this was like a super luxury sedan to compete with brands like Rolls-Royce. Now, not that long ago, Toyota announced the new Century was going to be an SUV to again compete with the Century of the Rolls-Royce SUV. In the latest news, this headline about Toyota Century kind of being the new flagship of the brand is really good, and let me tell you why. One is super exciting that could spread to other markets like Canada and the US, which there is talks about happening. And it'll open up the brand to appeal to that higher price buyer that is looking at Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, any of those brands. And it's cool that Toyota can play with those types of clients. Also, it really takes the chains off Lexus. And what I mean by that is now Lexus isn't the flagship. So theoretically, that could open this brand to be more of a luxury brand without limits. And what I mean by that is like, we saw years ago the Lexus LY, which was a yacht. I mean, we saw the Lexus hoverboard, which is kind of like, you know, fun, but not necessarily something that the brand went with. I've seen hints of Lexus being able to offer an ATV, or it's like a side-by-side that's like EV. What I think that means for the brand is they've taken the chains off, and now Lexus can mean and do so much more than previously what it had with being the flagship prestigious brand that it was. It's like now we can really spread our wings. So more on that soon. But to answer your question in a long way, I am super excited with this for 2 reasons. 1, I love Toyota Century. I want to own one eventually. And 2, I think it means a really cool next chapter for the Lexus brand. Dustin, do you use Apple CarPlay or the built-in navigation system in most of the Lexuses? Well, for me, I've grown to just use the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto for a few reasons. 1, I love the Apple Waze. I think it's so accurate and, you know, tells you some cool things like there's a school zone coming up, or maybe, you know, a speed trap, something like that. And also like that it updates the traffic. I don't use the built-in navigation systems that we used to offer on a lot of models. Like even my IS that I'm driving right now has navigation built in. I almost never use it. I'd rather plug in my phone. I did get a question the other day about how do you know if you're in Apple CarPlay or just regular Bluetooth connection? That's just in that settings screen. Just make sure you click off, if under the Bluetooth connection settings, just click off Apple CarPlay. You have to have it on your phone, you have to be paired and all that stuff. If it's just clicked off phone or clicked off messages, it kicks you out of Apple CarPlay, so that's important. Another Apple CarPlay question I get asked all the time is, what wireless gadget did I use in that IS350 video from a couple months back? Jovan's IS350 video. Well, his was just one from like Alibaba Express, but there is all these other solutions out there that work very similarly. One I saw on the internet that I want to try is made by QuadLock, which is a mount that I used to use on my motorcycle, and it seems to be a really reputable brand. So I would try that, but there is tons of little dongles you can buy now. I think like the highest one I saw was like $100. So if you don't like plug it in your phone and you have like an IS350 or one of the older RXs that you have to plug in, I do recommend that. It is pretty cool. Dustin, what are the two tab levers attached behind the steering wheel with a plus and a minus on it? I get that all the time because a lot of salespeople do forget to go over that. Those are just the paddle shifters. Now, I sometimes also get asked, why would a car like this have paddle shifters? Some of it is novelty. Some of it is actually, it is good to be able to control the car a little bit more sometimes in certain scenarios. The car just thinks they're smart, but they do just think you want them to do a certain thing. For instance, let's say I'm driving towards an intersection and I know the light is about to go yellow and I need to maybe speed up a little bit. I might downshift so that the car is primed and ready for me to just accelerate that extra little bit, even though I'm only gonna do it a little bit. Instead of, the car might just think we're cruising, so let's be in a higher gear and not have that extra torque. That's one way to do it. Another way is in the snow, if you wanted to use downshift to maybe slow yourself without pressing the brakes, or vice versa. So sometimes being able to tell the car what you want is in those paddle shifts, but most of the time, I just let the car do the driving and it does a pretty good job. Dustin, why does Lexus not have more high horsepower engines in their volume cars? Okay, great question. Something that I do fight myself on sometimes. So Lexus is known as the reliable, low maintenance cost brand. It's kind of what they've built their whole database of loyal guests on. With that comes engines that are usually a lot of times detuned from what their true potential really is. And I think a lot of that is about brand personality. Lexus talks about like guest experience more than high performance driving. Do we have high performance driving? Yes. I've taken the RX 500 around a track. I've driven the RCF Track Edition. The LC 500 is an amazing orchestrated engine, and those are all high performance things. However, to put those in, an RX 350, when the consumer of that RX 350 is actually gonna care more about just a safe, quiet ride that's not gonna cost them a ton of money over the course of like 10 years of ownership. That's like the demographic that Lexus has really gone off of and been so successful with. Sometimes I see my friends that work at Mercedes or at BMW or at Audi, and like I had a chance to drive the new Audi RS6, and it is pretty epic. Like that is a pretty rowdy, wagon, I guess you could call it. And I did think that was pretty exciting. However, I'm more of the Lexus guy, where I do prefer brands that, have built reliable ratings on them, even if that means we're lacking a little bit of horsepower sometimes. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus content, and comment below with any questions so I can go over them in the next video.